Welcome to Good Night LA here at 11 o'clock on Fox 11. I'm Christine Devine in for Marla Tejas. We have a pursuit. This is in South LA. It's been going on for a little under an hour here. It did not start in South LA. It started in Alhambra. And we're looking at robbery suspects here. LAPD is on this pursuit. It's been on surface streets for some time here now. And you can see they've got that helicopter overhead, that night sun lighting up that car. Now, there were at least two other people in the car. They got out at some point. The pursuit, though, still on. They've been in the downtown LA area, but also a lot here in South LA. Not a crazy pursuit, not overly dangerous, not higher speeds as well, just going and going and going in these two, mainly these two neighborhoods, downtown LA and South LA. Let's bring in our police expert, Dennis Zine. Dennis, the good thing here is they aren't driving at a high rate of speed and overly dangerous.
That's correct, Christine. So the speed is reasonable. The suspects, as you say, there were three. Now there's down to one. Started with Alhambra. Now it's with LAPD. They use extreme caution. They're obviously concerned about citizenry, vehicles in the area. So this pursuit is, while it's discussed and defined as a pursuit, it's a slow-speed pursuit. The individual is really not driving in a crazy, erratic manner, as we oftentimes see. Sufficient units behind, following at a safe distance. I'm sure supervisors monitoring this. As this goes in this particular situation, nothing's excessive, nothing's unreasonable, so they'll continue to follow individual stops or if they do a pit maneuver, but the pursuit is very, very slow compared to many other pursuits that we've seen over the years.
Yeah, so as I'm watching the neighborhoods here, South LA, downtown LA, we haven't seen police able to put out a spike strip yet, have we?
I understand there was one attempt, but it was not successful, so nothing of late. But as we see traveling at this slow speed, and really not driving in a crazy manner as we've seen many, many times, goes through a red light, makes a right turn on that red light, continuing through with the number of units behind. But the speed is reasonable. Wanted for 211, wanted for robbery. And we know initially started with three suspects. Now we're down to two. The two bailed out somewhere. And again, it started in Alhambra and it continues now in the city of Los Angeles. And I understand we're on South Los Angeles 71st and South Gramercy Place in South LA. I believe that might be either Southwest or 77th Street Division, one or the other.
I'm wondering here as this driver goes around the traffic if they are indeed in the wrong lanes. Looks like they are. That part can be scary, especially for unsuspecting motorists and should anybody be out crossing the street. We have seen people out on the sidewalk. It is only 11 o'clock on a Friday night, so that could make sense. But also the suspect going in some familiar areas, it seems. People have been out on the street almost looking like they were cheering on this driver at one point. We're now in the Hyde Park area. So, Dennis, so far, no spike strip, no attempt to make a pit maneuver. Do they just let this one run itself out?
Well, it appears, and there's obviously a supervisor who's monitoring this. The watch commander is also monitoring, so they're giving directions, but it's a slow-speed pursuit compared to some of the other pursuits. The driving, obviously not erratic, wanted for 211. I understand it's a robbery charge. Again, initially three suspects down to one with the car. So obviously the speed is reasonable. The driving is not unreasonable. They'll follow, runs out of gas, decides to surrender. I don't see any roadblocks or any kind of pit maneuver coming up. He is driving really in a very safe manner. So it's being monitored, the watch commander, the air unit, the additional units behind. We got the lead unit, the secondary, and additional units following when he takes off and bails from the car, and their foot pursuit may enhance. We just don't know. Yeah. Whatever the case may be, they're going to follow this until the termination, whether it be 10 minutes or a half hour. Runs out of gas. Eventually, if nothing else happens, it runs out of gas, come to a stop and take him into custody.
Well, hoping this suspect will eventually just pull over and bring this pursuit to a close. We talked about the two passengers who got out of the vehicle. Don't know if police were able to apprehend them and perhaps get some answers. And again, we don't know too much information about the robbery itself that led to this and how much information police have.
Well, then we say armed robbery. There was a weapon involved, whether it's a knife or a gun or some deadly weapon that they used, armed robbery of the suspects. There are many types of robberies, but when you say armed robbery, it means they were armed with some kind of a weapon. that was not a defensive but an offensive weapon. So you can anticipate that three individuals decided to commit a robbery. They may have even stolen the car. The car may be stolen also, but until they get this down. But everything is reasonable as far as the speed, the driving by the suspect. There's really nothing erratic, as we've seen many, many times.
Yeah.
Real wild driving, and we don't see that in this particular situation. There may be individuals' car doesn't want to have the car damaged. That might be the case. There are many, many possibilities, but the fact of the matter is LAPD is not going to surrender this one. They'll continue with it. And there's a policy when it gets too extreme, back off, because we don't want to see anyone hurt, and oftentimes they'll monitor by the helicopter and have the ground units at a safe distance. But in this case, with the light traffic, late at night, not a lot of activity taking place, they're going to continue with this until the duration.
We have talked about this before, where a suspect goes into an area we believe that seems familiar to them. I'm wondering about this staying in this South LA area after coming from Alhambra and going through downtown for a while, if this suspect is driving through a neighborhood in which he or she is very comfortable.
Well, that may be the case, where knowledge of the community, knowledge of the area, the roads, etc., coming from Alhambra. Obviously, Alhambra is much different than the community that we see the current situation. So there's many, many possibilities. They've run the car, I'm sure, returned information, DMV, etc., information, the registered owner. If the car's not stolen, and it's the individual in the car who were out committing some type of felony crime, robbery, or whatever the case may be. But since they've got started with 3 down to 1 with the car, and again, this driving is really not excessive, not extreme, so we're going to continue seeing this until either it runs out of gas or surrenders. There's been no attempt, to my knowledge, of a pit maneuver or any other kind of action to bring this to an end. They're just following a reasonable, safe distance, and their driving, again, is not what you consider extreme at all from what we've seen in past and many other pursuits in the Southern California area.
Yeah, well, here we are in a more neighborhood-looking type street. It seems to be a little bit more narrow than some of the business streets that are wide open there. A lot of cars there, which could mean pedestrians. Picking up speed here, though, on this street here, which is it's much more narrow. Dennis, look at the moves there, Dennis. Are you seeing a little bit more aggressive actions there by the driver?
Well, he's speeded up. He's now in the 40-mile-an-hour range, 50 miles an hour. Yeah, he's definitely speeding up. And again, you've got a quiet residential area, narrow streets with cars parked on all sides, obviously going through stop signs. It does sound, the speed is getting more aggressive than it was in the past. I don't know what woke the individual up to start accelerating, but going through these residential areas, which are 25 miles an hour, going up to 40 and 50 as we've seen. So he's definitely accelerating through these neighborhoods, and very quiet residential neighborhoods that people are sleeping or they're watching Fox News to see what's happening with the helicopter overhead and the black and whites. I'm sure they're code 3, red light and siren through these neighborhoods. So eventually, if he continues in these neighborhoods, you'll see people walking out and looking at the pursuit as it travels by their house like a parade. And oftentimes that's what it's described as, a parade with the suspect fleeing in the black and whites, red light, siren, code 3, in pursuit, trying to take them into custody. So we caution the public to stay away. If it comes in your neighborhood, stay away. Don't go out and engage. We've seen that happen occasionally. But just stay away if you want to see it from the sidewalk, but don't engage this individual. Just let them go. And they may be familiar. They may have friends, neighbors in this particular neighborhood as they're circling the area. So, but again, there's sufficient units there to bring this to a stop. But again, we haven't seen any aggressive pit maneuvers or any other type of activity, spike strips. I think there was one attempt somewhere in the Alhambra area, but nothing of late. It just continues through these streets. Now we're down to a speed of in the 40, high 30, mid 40 range.
Well, the armed robbery happened in the Alhambra area, which Alhambra police were on this to start out. Wondering how much information they have on that. Obviously, it's late at night. Sometimes we don't get a follow-up until the next day, and often the news has moved on to another story. Wondering how long this pursuit's going to go. It can go hours and hours if there's a lot of gas in that car, and this driver just won't stop. Again, this driver not getting on any of the freeways, not taking off and leaving the neighborhood. I don't want to say circling because I don't know the streets well enough to say that they're circling, but we've been on Cimarron before. We've been in the South LA area for a while now. So, Dennis, what do you make of the behavior of this driver staying in kind of the same South LA area?
I think the driver may be familiar with the neighborhood and traveling these residential streets, because we see no businesses, all residential, heavy residential neighborhoods, which the speed limit would be 25 miles an hour. We see the speed limit now in the high 20s to low 30s.
Oh, wait.
So really
Pulling
nothing
over?
unusual.
No? U-turn? Okay, watching
U-turn would be
here.
unusual. We haven't seen any U-turns
Oh,
yet.
wow.
That would be
on the
interesting.
sidewalk. Dennis, let me take it here. Okay,
go
wait.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, the driver pulled onto the sidewalk and might have hit a tree. We do know that LAPD has now stopped their vehicles. Looks like they're perhaps have boxed this driver in. Again, we don't know if this suspect is armed. Okay, the police, they're asking other officers to get out of any kind of line of fire, crossfire there. Yeah, it looks like the driver went onto the sidewalk here. Don't know if they were stuck in between the tree and the building, or what happened that made them stop the vehicle. But it looks like the driver's door now would not be able to open with that tree. So interesting dynamic here, Dennis. I'll let you come into the conversation now. That driver may not even be able to get out on the driver's side.
Well, they're going to deploy, as we see the units have surrounded that vehicle, so the officers will deploy. They're only going to make entry by the passenger side, but they're going to make sure if this individual is armed. Again, we have an armed robbery suspect,
Right.
so you can assume there's a weapon involved, but they'll be very cautious. They'll order the individual out of the car. I mean, why they jumped on the sidewalk in that manner, I don't know, but got himself pinned against the tree. They're unlikely going to move from here. It's going to have to exit out of the passenger side. But again, we have sufficient units, and the unit in front of the car could then block that car if that decides to proceed. But it looks like this might be coming to an end, and to coax the individual out of the car, take him into custody, or she into custody. I assume it's a male. But that car is right up on that tree, so the individual's not going to be able to get out on the driver's side. They're going to have to exit on the passenger side. And again, it goes into foot pursuit. Plenty of officers there, and they just came back from Baker to Vegas last week, so I'm sure they're in shape if they want to do a foot pursuit, which would not be unusual, that they flee or attempt to flee. But you've got a number of units there, a number of officers ready to take them into custody. They don't know if the individual is armed or not. We know it's an armed robbery. Could be a weapon, a knife, a gun, anything. Something that is a weapon that could cause bodily injury or death. So what they're going to do is use extreme caution. But they've got devices that they can utilize to get the individual out of the car if it turns into a standoff and they need to bring in the SWAT and the SWAT vehicle, et cetera. But they're going to use extreme caution. They don't want to jeopardize any officers or the individual. They want to take the individual into custody in a peaceful manner and let the criminal justice system deal with it. But you see the officers are there. They're standing around doing what they need to do to secure the scene. So the vehicle, basically, the individual is surrounded. There is unlikely if the individual goes out the passenger side, which will take some time to go from the driver's seat
hands
to
up,
the passenger
Dennis.
seat, open the door.
All right, passenger side, drivers coming out of the passenger side, unless it's another person that's in the vehicle. But yeah, arms are out of the car. Looks like the person is shimmying his way out of the vehicle on the passenger side. My guess is that would be the driver who had to scooch over to the passenger side. That driver is clearly showing the hands, clearly showing that they are holding their hands up. And it looks to me like they are attempting to comply. Okay, out of the vehicle now. Okay, that had to be a bizarre situation there. So we're a little blocked by the tree there, but it looks to me like that driver is listening to the commands of police, and they're going to probably make sure that the driver doesn't have the car keys and nothing else, you know, and no kind of weapon at all. Probably getting that driver away from the vehicle because, again, I don't know, Dennis, if there's somebody else in the car as well. There were two others before.
That's possible. So they're going to make sure that this individual is taken into custody. Then they'll, with caution, approach the car, make sure there's no one in the back seat, no one in the trunk. They need to make sure that car is safe. But they'll get him proned out, take him into custody, and they've got, again, officers' eyes on the vehicle, officers with the suspect. He's up against the wall. They'll get him down on the ground, prone him out, handcuff him, and then they'll approach the car once he's in custody.
So, Dennis, as we're watching this, we can see they have approached the vehicle. Obviously, they felt safe enough to do that, which lets me know that there's nobody in the vehicle. Looks like they're giving the all clear there. That suspect is in custody. Looked like a young man who was able to get out of the vehicle on the passenger side. Police now checking that vehicle. We're not hearing that was stolen. We are hearing of an armed robbery in Alhambra. Obviously, this driver wanting to get away. Why that driver made the U-turn there in the middle of the road, don't know. Don't know if it was a dead end or something they saw. Maybe police cars were in front of them. But that driver tried to make that U-turn, went onto the sidewalk, and got stuck. All right, Dennis Zine.
He pinned himself in the car when he went on the sidewalk, put the car next to the tree, and pinned himself in the car. So it looks like we have a code 4 and the suspect's in custody.
Very good. All right, we thank you, Dennis Zine, for your time. Appreciate your help on this pursuit that ended here in South LA.